Welcome to another evening of mantra meditation, kirtan meditation, and spiritual insights from our friend Charidas. So, is everybody warm enough? Is it cold in here? Or who's cold? All good? Okay, so I think you're mostly familiar with our program. We start off with some simple garanga, what we call garanga breathing, just to help us relax, focus, and then they'll move into the kirtan, which we chant for maybe an hour till 7 o'clock. And the Charidas will be speaking, and he's continuing on with the theme he spoke on last week. I have it written down here. Lessons from the Mahabharata, Anger, Forgiveness, and Virtue, Part 2. And he's going to chant a little bit after that, and we'll have some light refreshments. So thanks everyone for coming. Hope you enjoy evening. Viva, take it away.
Namaste. We're going to begin some pranayama garanga breathing before we move into kirtan. So go ahead and sit comfortably wherever you are. Lengthen your spine. Close your eyes. Relax all the muscles in your face. And lastly, place your hands in a position comfortable for you. So to do this practice, as you inhale, you meditate on the mantra Gauranga within your mind. And as you exhale, you'll say the mantra aloud, breaking it up into 3 parts tonight. Gaur, Ra, Ga. Okay, that's 4. So we'll start together. And just go ahead and keep your focus on the mantra. If you notice your mind is drifting away from your practice, just gently bring it back to the sound Gauranga. So it'll sound like this. So we'll begin together now. Inhale. Allow the sound to resonate within your mind for a few moments, and then we'll transition into kirtan.
Thank you, Kunti. So I'd like to welcome also our online guests out there in cyberspace. Thank you for joining us tonight. We also have my friends Kunda and Gary here with us tonight. So yeah, welcome guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to chant mantra. Gopala Govindarama Madana Mohana. And if you haven't done this before, the idea is just to focus in on that sound as much as you can, putting aside other thoughts. Just bathe in that sound. It's not ordinary sound, it's transcendental sound, spiritual sound. Gopal Govindarama Madana Mohana Gopala Govindarama Madana Mohana. So you sing it twice. Govindarama Madana So, pastor Lucida now. Microphone. Excuse us. Namaste. Sorry about that. So I'm going to sing the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Nitai go, Haribo. Haribo, Nitai go, Haribo. Haribo, Nitai go, Haribo. Haribo, Nitago, 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 Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribol. 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So, over to you, Mukunda.
Haribol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Nitaigo, Nitaigo, Haribo.
Haribo, 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 Nitaigo, Nitaigo, Haribo. Haribo, Nitaigo, Nitaigo, Haribo.
Haribo, Nitaigo, Nitaigo,
Haribo.
Thank you, Mukunda. So with that, I'd like to invite Charitas to come and speak.
So before speaking, I offer my respects to my spiritual teachers, to our lineage, and to the Supreme. Om Agnatimarandasya Gnajana Salakaya Chaksuru Militan Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vindam. Hey Krishna Kauruna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing from last week. We were talking about anger, forgiveness, and virtue. And we were retelling a story from the Mahabharata, a great epic, spiritual epic from India. And it was about a royal family, these 5 young princes who after the death of their father, who was the king, were pushed aside by their uncle and his children. And in fact, there were attempts to murder them when they were all still young children. There were two attempts. And so they had to pretty much go into hiding. Everybody thought that they had been consumed in a fire that was set by their very wicked uncle and his associates. And how after living for many years in the most difficult of situations, they emerged as young men, along with their mother who was with them in exile, to reclaim their kingdom. And that turned into a not too good situation. They were begrudgingly given half or less of that kingdom, the bad part, the desert area, which they set up their capital. It was called Hastinapura, the city of elephants. In those days, elephants were like Mercedes-Benz, I guess. If you had an elephant, that was pretty far out. Apart from animals of war, they were meant to be animals of grand transportation. And after things were developing very nicely through palace intrigue and wickedness, they were enticed into a situation and challenged in a way that they could not refuse. They ended up losing their kingdom once again. Yudhishthira, who was the eldest brother and who was the king at that time, was forced by trickery into gambling away even his wife. Her name was Draupadi. So they suffered these horrible situation and were forced into a 13-year exile where they left with not even their clothing, just in their underwear. It was like the ultimate in humiliation. And while living in the forest, the elder brother, Yudhishthira, he was known to be a person that was incredibly righteous. He was just such a good person. He was a powerful warrior, but he was a really good person. And he absorbed himself now in the company of many great sages and yogis who took shelter of them and whom they protected. And he would always be engaged daily in their discourses and meditations. And Yudhishthira's brothers and his wife became very angry with him, thinking that they just said it was so unjust. And his wife finally questioned him, "What's wrong with you that you aren't becoming so incredibly angry at the injustice and everything that was done to you and your brothers and to me? How can you be so tolerant?" And he responded, which I read last week, and there's more backstory to this if you want to check it out on Facebook or on my YouTube channel. You can catch what we discussed last week. But his response to her was, "O intelligent lady, through anger we may sometimes gain wealth, but anger ultimately destroys mankind. Real prosperity crowns one who conquers anger and brings adversity to one whom anger controls." So this was like a really important principle. when we speak of anger, and somebody raised a question about it, we're not just talking about raising your voice a little or getting a little upset. We're talking when you start losing the plot and you start acting and speaking in a way that will only cause unhappiness, that will only cause suffering. This was considered a real loss of intelligence, and it was classified as being one of the 3 gateways to hell. And we're not necessarily talking about the Christian idea of hell. We're talking about even in this very life, you will end up in the most hellish of situations and suffer terribly as a result of being controlled by anger. And so the wise men would advise everyone, never become controlled by anger. And so that's the point that he's making here, that anger brings adversity to one whom anger controls. An angry man commits sin blindly, meaning you have such a loss of intelligence that you will do horrific things. I mean, all you got to do is look. I mean, in New Zealand, it's absolutely shocking, the rates of domestic violence here, and how it's so ingrained in society. The levels are higher here than anywhere else in the developed world, practically. And what's with that? That it's okay just because you're a little unhappy about something or something didn't go your way, that you can violently assault, verbally, physically, sexually, a partner in marriage, your own children. It's just like, what's with that? That's just madness. And what is the result? The result is adversity on so many, different levels. You destroy your kids. Kids have a really hard time being raised in a really violent family situation and being able to navigate their way through life and find peacefulness and to treat others equally with dignity. You learn. The go-to is if things are not going your way, if stuff's happening that you don't like, it's not a question of whether it's right or wrong. If you don't like it, you get so pissed off that you just erupt in violence. And so this principle that is being spoken about here is like really, really important. We have this real problem with society, and it's becoming increasingly like this, where people don't like what someone says or someone does. People think that violence is an option. And the reality is it's not. It can never bring you peace. It can never bring you fulfillment. It won't deliver what you desire. I mean, it's just like so nuts. You don't like something going on in your life, and you want to blame a particular person for being the cause of that, and then you're going to get angry at them. Does it ever produce a good result? Does the other person go, oh yeah, I'm so sorry, I'll never do that again? No. The other person, oh yeah, what about the time when you, whatever. Everybody's got their little go-to place where they reach into their bag, the history of the relationship, where we never let things die. There's this smoldering stuff inside. And then as soon as somebody, does something I don't like, it just all comes out, and it's just like, how do you expect to live a good life? How do you expect to become happy? How do you expect to experience peace? How do you expect to face death that is surely coming in a noble and dignified and wonderfully spiritual way, if your life is so filled with so much anger and angst. In the Bhagavad Gita, it describes how the consequence of anger is a loss of intelligence. And I mean, could there be anything more true than that? I mean, it's not like in the middle of an angry, response to something that suddenly you're filled with intelligence and you see everything so clearly and you know exactly what to do. No, you become blinded. There is a loss of intelligence, and that creates a hellish situation for yourself and for others around. So in this conversation that takes place here, and there's a bit too much of it to read in the short time that we have, but in this conversation, people began, the brothers of Yudhishthira began to challenge him. How is it that your whole life you have lived in virtue? You would even abandon your brothers and your wife before you abandoned virtue. And what has it got you? What has it got you? Look where you are. And he explains a couple of things. One is to live a virtuous life. Means that you are not a merchant, that you trade in virtue. Oh, I will be virtuous if I get this. I will be virtuous if this result happens. He said one should live a virtuous life because it is the right thing to do, and it is good for you. The result will be that you experience peacefulness and happiness, and there will be usually a result. So one of the things that he said was a person in a less powerful position. I'll read this one because it kind of goes against the grain. I'll just finish reading this thing that I was reading. Anger is the root of all destruction. An angry man commits sin blindly. An angry man will kill even his respected preceptor and insult his elders. He cannot distinguish between right and wrong, and there is nothing an angry man might not do or say, even to the point of sending himself to death's abode. I mean, that's what a statement. Can somebody hit that amp there? We're getting noise out of it. Huh? So have you seen these situations? I mean, I don't know if you remember this, like a long time ago, there was this movie, The War of the Roses. And it was a family, husband and wife, and they just got into this battle. And it just ended up with a heading for divorce. Then they lived in this really spectacular house, and they started arguing about who's going to get what. And then they were so angry at each other that you're going to get more than me, or you're going to get something to enjoy and not me. They started smashing stuff, and it just erupted into this monumental fight where their whole life was in ruin. And you see it in the criminal world, where somebody comes up against the police or something, and then it's so erupting in anger, and they just charge into the fire, trying to do as much damage as they can, but they're prepared to die. And it's just like, where's the intelligence in that one? That a person overcome by anger will even cause their own death, out of this bitterness and lack of intelligence. So he said, I will not indulge in anger, Draupadi. Rather, I will strive to control it. So he went on to describe about one must also learn forgiveness, and this is a really big subject that we will deal with probably again at some other time. But the fundamental principle is, I run some classes in a shelter for women, primarily some men, but women who are victims of domestic violence or sexual violence. And, you go through like a series of classes and you're teaching meditation. Then you come to this subject of forgiveness. And I have people that just will stand up and walk out because they're so traumatized from what has happened. And they don't understand that, and if they come back, we have the opportunity, and I forewarn them that what we're going to deal with. If while you hold on to the anger that you have at people that have done wrong to you, you are continuously a victim. You are continuously trapped by that person. Forgiveness, in its real understanding, is not about condoning or making something, saying it's right or anything. No, quite the opposite. But what it is learning to actually give up my anger and to become free from something that has been controlling me for years, where I could not, in different situations, there'll be things that trigger it, and I just come apart, and I can't focus, and I can't live a really constructive and positive life. The mechanism for becoming free lies in this subject. But it's a huge subject, and don't worry, we're not going to get through with it tonight by any manner of means. But after speaking about that to his brothers, he also warned that even when a person is in a weaker position, they must actually resort to virtue. If you resort to anger, you will be crushed, you will be hurt, you will be destroyed. It's just not smart. And in their case, in their life, they put up with the great austerity that they had to accept. And eventually there was a great battle between these two groups of cousins, a fierce battle where the aggressors were, the issue was put to rest. But the point that Yudhishthira spoke about and what he demonstrated in his life, you don't sacrifice what is your eternal good. You don't sacrifice spiritual intelligence, awareness of your spiritual being for something that is temporary. When one becomes overwhelmed by anger, this is inevitably what happens. The path to true spiritual enlightenment, the path to having this amazing spiritual awakening of your actual spiritual identity, apart from this body, apart from the mind, apart from that which is temporary and passing, is an extraordinary experience that cannot be compared to anything. And in order to come to a place of real spiritual awareness and to have this experience of self-realization, of enlightenment, one needs to go to battle with such things as their emotions. I had a really not very pleasant morning. I've been trying to help a couple, not in New Zealand, somewhere else, with their marriage situation, which is coming unglued. And the fundamental things I had told them when it comes to dealing with stuff in your life, and when you're in a conflict situation or a difficult situation, first rule, never make it worse. Never make it worse. There's no gain in making things worse. Everything becomes more difficult. Even if you are saying something that is true, if it is not having the effect, if it's making things worse, you've got to stop talking. So first rule, never make things worse. Then if you want to seek a resolution and a way forward, do not act in a heightened state of emotion. Whether that's so-called positive, you're all flipping out, oh, it's so great, yeah. Or it's in a mood of anger or fear or rejection or deep depression. In a heightened state of emotion, don't speak. Don't act. Don't make a decision. It will never work out very well. You must learn how to calm down and to step back, disengage from the mind and the emotions that all occur there. And when one is on a very even keel, consider what is in my best interest, long term, what is in my best interest, and what is in this other person's best interest. What action do I need to take? What do I need to say to move us towards a better place, whatever that's going to be? And this is what it means to be virtuous, to live in virtue, where you are not acting. I mean, the distinction between animals and human beings. Animals have no capacity to step back from things. They are forced to act on impulse, on desire, whatever arouses them. Whether it's fear, hunger, anger, sexual drive, whatever. They are compelled to act. As human beings, the thing that distinguishes us from animals is we do have the capacity in this human life to step back. And this is something that we must cultivate in our life to produce the best possible outcomes, to create the opportunity for actual happiness, for actual peacefulness. The material impulses, as I will call them, they take you away from an awareness of your eternal spiritual being, who you are, the person who resides within this temporary body. The material impulses, the emotions, all these things, they drag you into that animal realm, the realm of where everything is fleeting, temporary, passing, where there is no peacefulness, there is often fear and anxiety and apprehension. So this was the lesson that Yudhishthira tried to share with his brothers and with his wife. Patience and tolerance are two things that are really important to cultivate in order to come to this place, to arrive in this destination. So I think that's about as far as we will take things tonight. Does anybody have a question? I mean, I'm truly feeling sadness at the state of the world. I mean, New Zealand's kind of cool. It's like you watch the news here, and it's just like everything's kind of cool, and and it's nice. my God, you know, a lot of the world is just caught in such conflict and such violence and such loud, angry expression. And if you think that you're going to set things right through anger, you are sorely mistaken. Nothing good will come from it. You always need calm and intelligent decision making and action to arrive at a good place. And anything that can help to tamp down these animal instincts is a good thing. Giving rise, venting animal instinct is not helpful for you spiritually. Absolutely not. Okay? Too serious or no? It's all right. Hey, life is serious. And you have to be smart if you want to go through life and have a brilliant outcome. You have to be intelligent. Doesn't mean that you need a high IQ, but it means that you know where to draw lines and how to choose a course that produces genuinely good outcomes. Okay? I think I will maybe chant the Maha Mantra. You know, this meditation upon transcendental sound, it is this opportunity to fully immerse ourselves in the same way that somebody immerses themselves in an ocean or a river, to immerse yourself in that which is fully transcendental and spiritual. And it cleans away the dust and cobwebs, the debris that cover our heart and mind. It gives us a taste for a higher spiritual happiness. And it begins to uncover our true and eternal spiritual identity. So immersing ourselves in it means that we are able to experience in a more powerful way the actual effect of these transcendental sounds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, Charitas.
You're very welcome.
So, thank you everybody for coming and braving the wild weather. And I hope to see you again. We're here every Sunday now. And also, big thanks to Kunda and Gary for coming all this way to help play with us. Very much appreciated. Awesome. And so we have some light refreshments over here for you. Samosas. Care of our friend Patrick. So, awesome. Make yourself at home and head in that direction. Sweet. Hope to see you again. Namaste. Thank you.